Matthew Brooks.
It is one of the greatest questions of our time. It is one of the greatest challenges that we as a species have faced from the beginning. A great Gordian knot that we keep hacking at and trying to cut through. Communication. Now you would think that mankind kind of had it licked by now. We've come a really long way since those scratching on cave walls where we told each other what we were doing, where to look out for the woolly mammoth. But we really haven't. There's an explosion of platforms that we face. You've heard about a lot of them today. Facebook, Twitter, email, your cell phone, Instagram, Pinterest, Snapchat if you're 22. Which I'm not. Anyone out there 22? Maybe a couple people. So you would think with all of this connectivity that we were communicating more effectively. And unfortunately, that's not the case. Because all we've really done is added more tools to the toolbox, except all the tools are kind of the same. It's like you're building something and you go grab the toolbox and you open it up and it's filled with screwdrivers. So you can't really do much with only screwdrivers, right? You need more tools. You need tools that do other things. We seem to be connected, but we are so dissociated today. So dissociated. What we need is connectivity on a more human level. Now, it's ironic, really, that I talk about how technology has ruined communication because for 22 years, I worked in Silicon Valley as a communications professional. I did PR, I moderated conferences, I moderated panels, I did strategic messaging, and I used every one of the tools I just mentioned and then some in exactly the same way that probably everybody else in this room does. And it never really felt right. It always felt kind of hollow. There was something missing. So I made a decision that I was going to leave the tech industry, and about 5 years ago, my whole life changed. It was May of 2012, and I ran into Tony Hsieh, who I had known through my time in the tech industry. He's the CEO of Zappos, for those of you who don't know. And I ran into him at a conference, and I told him that I wanted to leave tech. So he smiled, and he said, come to visit us in Las Vegas. And then he invited me to come in the summer. How many people here have been into Las Vegas in the summertime? Right, okay, so you get it. So for those of you who haven't been here in the summer, close your eyes for a second and imagine standing on the surface of the sun. And then imagine someone takes a hairdryer on hot and points it right in your face. And you start to get an idea of what summers are like here. So I thought, this is ridiculous. I'm not going to Las Vegas in the summer. But then he invited me to bring a friend. Someone who is so important to me and so crucial to my life. And I was really excited because he's super, super busy. So I was super excited to find out that he was actually able to join me here today. Truman? Truman, can you come here, please? Come on in, it's okay. Ladies and gentlemen, Truman Brooks. You can actually find him on Twitter. He's on Twitter, Truman Brooks. He is Truman H. Brooks on Instagram, and he also has a Facebook page. Why don't you lay down? I'm just going to talk. Lay down. Just wait there. All right. Never, oops, my slides are gone. You see, it's the dog. Never perform with an animal, they say in Hollywood. Animal and children, because it kills everything. Do I have my slides here? There we go. Truman. Okay, so Truman Brooks. So Truman and I came to Las Vegas in the summer of 2012. And we came on vacation. And 10 days later, I left having committed to submit a business plan. 6 months later, I was here to build this, the Hydrant Club. A facility that promotes and fosters a better understanding of living with dogs in an urban environment. Put more simply, I teach people how to talk to dogs. Now, you might say, how does this, translating to this, make any difference at all, matter to you guys, other than the fact you just got to see a super cool dog? So here's what I can tell you. I spent most of my life as a communications professional, and in the last 5 years, I have learned more about communication, about leadership, about interpersonal interactions, and about the importance of me understanding my role in the world than I did in an entire career of communications. By spending my time with a pool of, well, let's just say my coworkers, colleagues, and clients are considerably more canine than they are human these days. And they know more about communication than we do. So let's think about that for a second. So man and dog, we've lived together for tens of thousands of years, and people say that it's because we've lived long together. Like any long-term relationship, you live long enough with someone, you can finish their sentences. So people think that it's because we've been with dogs so long that we understand each other. That's actually not true. The reason that man and dog could come together in the first place is because we are fundamentally the same. Genetically, we are primates. Primates, canid, different species. But sociologically, psychologically, emotionally, our imprint to the canine is almost exactly the same. So let's look at that a little bit more. Dogs and people live in groups. Dogs and people understand the need for a clearly defined leader in that group. Dogs and people understand that in that group there are roles. Those roles have boundaries, and those boundaries interact with other roles in the group. Dogs and people understand that communication needs to be clear, concise, and there need to be repercussions when you go outside the boundaries. And in the case of both dogs and people, when there is instability, which can be because somebody is not doing what they're supposed to be doing, or because leadership is faulty, in the case of people, it just makes kind of a miserable experience. In the case of dogs, especially in the wild, it can mean death. Communication for dogs and communication for people serve the same purpose. 3 basic things. First, it's about organization. It's about structure. It's about understanding our relationship to other people and our own place in that structure. Isn't that right, Truman? Neighbors. It's about roles. It's about having clearly defined places and knowing how I am supposed to behave. And above and beyond everything else, it's about connection, emotional connection. I mean, you all understand the need for strong relationships very, very well. Relationships are at the heart of your business. And even though you are all individuals, none of us is an island. You may work as an individual, but you have clients. You have vendors and subcontractors with which you work. You have peers with whom you engage and interact. And you have an organization with which you are affiliated, with which you connect. All of these mean that knowing our roles and knowing our structure is so, so important. So what is it that we can learn from our canine companions so that we can be better people? I'm going to give you 3 tips on how to be a better human, at least a better human communicator. First of all, it's an inside job. In terms of how people operate in a group, start with yourself. Stop worrying about the people around you and start thinking about, why am I here? What's my responsibility? What is my role? Does my role interact with the others in a smooth way that allows the whole to be more functional? Sit, stay, and pause. So the thing that's beautiful about canine communication is that it is almost entirely non-vocal. You notice I didn't say non-verbal, they don't have words. They do have vocalizations they use, but the vast majority of the way that dogs communicate with each other has no sound whatsoever. It's based entirely on body language, based on energy, eye contact. When two dogs enter a space together, volumes of conversation have happened before those dogs even approach each other. So think about how you are in a space with other people. If you're so busy waiting for your turn to talk while someone is speaking, you're missing all of the nonverbal cues that that person is giving you while they are speaking. It's not just what someone says, it's how they say it that is important. So think about that. Finding pup posse. As I mentioned, none of us is an island. Life is a team sport, my friends. And it's all about finding the people with whom we can engage and interact, and in our own individual success, we help others be successful as well. I've had the chance to hear many of the presentations this morning, and it's the same theme. How all of us work together. How all of you have engagement with each other, even though you are very much individuals. So think about how you walk through the world. Don't sniff too many butts, though. And if any of you wish to connect with me, or, as I mentioned, it's very important to stay connected. And, of course, all of my dogs. And so Truman's just one of 4, and the other 3 all are on Twitter, and as well as Instagram. So get out there, connect with each other, and thank you for your time. Ready? Say thanks to people. They're coming for you. It's not for me. All right, come on, people.
Please welcome